Welcome to High Performance Health Summit. I'm your host, Dr. Isaac Jones, and I am privileged to have David Asprey here with us, who is the founder of Bulletproof Executive, and he's a leading high-performance executive coach and researcher. And David, I'm really excited to have you on this call because I know you've just done so much unbelievable research into biohacking and just maximizing performance. So thank you again for being on this call.
Oh, you're welcome. I love the idea of what you're doing just to help people understand things they can do to perform better. Because Isaac, there's kind of a secret, and it's part of the reason the Bulletproof is here, is that when people perform better, they're actually nicer too. So then like everybody wins.
Exactly. Yeah, we're making this world a better place, that's for sure. So, you know, David, you have such just an unbelievable story for people that haven't been to bulletproofexec.com. You know, just briefly kind of give an overview of what your history is, because it's just so amazing where you've come from to where you are right now.
Well, about 20 years ago, I weighed 300 pounds. And I don't know if you look, like, I don't know, I'm a reasonably healthy, kind of lean guy. I'm 41 now. Yeah. And so I lost 100 pounds. But along the way, I have also spent time learning meditation and yoga and hacking my brain with computers. Like, I've spent multiple weeks with electrodes stuck to my head, making my brain do what an advanced Zen master's brain only does after 40 years of daily meditation. Wow. So this idea that you can actually raise your IQ, you can increase your fluid intelligence, and you can do so many things that affect you. But if you want to do the stuff that's attractive to most people, you've got to get your body working, because your hardware supports your software. And a lot of people, they sort of, well, I wanted to do something and I didn't do it, therefore it's because I didn't try hard enough. I'm like, actually, no. Therefore it's because your hardware couldn't support your software, and maybe your software needed a little bit of adjustment as well, like whatever that is. But you really want to make sure that you pay attention to the meat. Because when you get your meat running well, you can be a better entrepreneur, you can be a better father, a better mother, a better artist. Whatever you're here to do, you can do it better. And that's really what I'm all about.
That's incredible. And tell us what you're drinking there.
This is bulletproof coffee. It's a recipe that I made after I came back from Tibet. I noticed that yak butter tea had an uncommon, hard to predict effect on me. Yak butter tea is drunk by people at very high altitude, the Tibetans, and I drank this stuff when I should have been getting altitude sickness, basically, and I felt wonderful and amazing. And I came back to the US and sort of reverse engineered why butter was important, which butter to use. Added an extract of coconut oil called brain octane, which is 18 times stronger than coconut oil for increasing energy that your body gets from burning fat instead of sugar. And you have this for breakfast blended with coffee that is lab tested to be free of things that cause jitter and anxiety, that sort of tight feeling or the headache you can get when you come down from coffee. That's not the coffee, that's stuff that grew on the coffee back in the field. So we avoid that in the Bulletproof process. And when you brew coffee and you make it that way, you're not hungry. Like, you don't care about food for 4 to 6 hours, and it's been amazingly sort of liberating. No food cravings, and my brain it's on fire all the time when I do this. So this is my breakfast every day.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, and honestly, it's funny. Had the privilege to go to Mastermind Talks, hung out with you there, had a great time, and I had Bulletproof. Like, this is somebody that doesn't drink a whole lot of coffee. I had Bulletproof coffee. I had, I think, 6 glasses a day, which was just insane. And normally I would feel hyper and, I would just be going AWOL, and I felt so good. My energy was so even keel, and I just know it's definitely a much higher quality coffee for sure. And I think any executive out there definitely needs to make the upgrade to Bulletproof coffee, simply because of the science behind it. Is it shade grown and it decreases the caffeine intake that people would get, or how does that work?
So shade growing matters mostly because it changes the fungal biome, like the type of fungus that grows in the coffee plantation. So yeah, shade growing matters. but it's not because of the caffeine content. This coffee is lower in caffeine because the more you stress a coffee plant, the more caffeine it makes. Caffeine is a poison that coffee makes to keep bugs and animals from eating it.
Right.
So it just so happens we kind of like that stuff. So
Exactly.
what you get with this is you get a coffee plant that was well managed. And that means that in the field, it got less of the fungal contamination. And then very specifically, the processing we do to take it from a piece of basically fruit to the pit of the fruit, which is the coffee bean. That process is where a lot of the risk happens. And we take some specific steps in the bulletproof process to avoid toxin formation. And these toxins are not they're not uncommon. Most world governments have put legal limits in place for some of them, except the US. So you can buy dirty coffee here and it's not illegal.
Right.
And so I use a lab test at the end of the process to verify that we got the levels we were looking for.
Yeah, and Ariana Huffington and all these like high-level billionaires and multimillionaires, some of the most successful people in America are all plugged into that bulletproof coffee drinking. So thank you for giving us the science behind
Sure.
that. And, tell us, what are some of the top just biohacks, strategies for the busy entrepreneur, executive, somebody that has a big goal or a vision that they want to accomplish? What are some of the like uncompromisables you have got to do or implement or download this app or whatever it may be to really maximize your performance?
Well, you've got to do something about your willpower, because if you're an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
your ability to make decisions every day is critical. In fact, that's one of your most important assets. And you can make this little decision. Like, this is something I write about in the Bulletproof Diet book. Quick plug, bulletproofdietbook.com. I'll send you the main roadmap
Yes.
for the book for free.
Yeah.
But the reason to write about willpower in a diet book is that most people eat something for breakfast, or they have some nutritional practices that cause food cravings. And there's a little voice that goes in your head, and you actually like catch it happening if you start to pay attention to this. So let's say you had some, grape nuts or something that's guaranteed to cause a food craving a couple hours later. You're sitting there, that normal dip you get around 10 a.m. for the average person, and then someone puts a plate of bagels, and you've said, I'm not going to eat it. I'm not going to have a snack this morning. I'm a good person. I have a strong willpower.
Yeah.
The bagels are sitting there, and then this little voice in your head, which actually isn't you, it's the operating system for your meat. I call it your labrador brain, because it's like a Labrador retriever, kind of. It'll eat anything.
Right.
And the Labrador brain says, food, eat it. You're starving. And then your human brain goes, no. Oh, I'm sorry, that was a decision you just made, Mr. Entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And then about 1 second later, eat it. No. All right. So this is actually a food craving happening because there's a biological cause for it. Like, you weren't satisfied by your breakfast. Your body feels like some parts of it don't have enough energy. To a body, not to you, but to the meat of your body.
Yeah.
That means you're going to die. You don't have enough food. Oh my God, emergency. So you sit there when you should be paying attention to the meeting, and you should not be making decisions to basically manage the Labrador in your head. You drain your resolve and your energy for the day by saying, eat it, no, eat it, no, eat it, no.
Right.
And you just do this. And then we do it all day long. And the transforming thing is, what if like the Labrador in your head just didn't care about food because it had enough energy? And then you look at the thing and go, oh, bagels. And then you just go back to what you're doing. And all those no decisions are still yours. And you can use them to like buy companies or to like decide to play soccer with your kids. It doesn't really matter. But for God's sake, using them on little things like that, it's a waste of your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of Labrador brains, though, if you picture like a Labrador retriever, there's 3 things that a dog like that will do. One of those 3 things is, look, a stick, right? So that's distractability, right? That's the ADD coming in. And the reason that dogs do that is because they're actually always looking for survival.
Yeah.
Like, is that something that might scare me? Like, should I run away? Should I attack it? What should I do?
Right.
So there's that kind of automated response that keeps you alive. Like if a mugger jumps out from an alley, you're going to defend yourself before you go, oh, look, a mugger. I guess I should defend myself. Like, it's built into your nervous system. And this is a good thing so you don't die.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing a Labrador will do, we just talked about, oh, look, like spoiled food, I think I'll eat that. Right? And the final thing is, oh, look, here's a leg, I think I'll go hump it. Right? So that would be our sexual behaviors. all of those keep our species alive, and all of those are good things. But when you spend a lot of your cycles all day, every day, thinking about one of those three things, will I have enough? Is something going to kill me? Am I starving right now?
Right.
And am I going to get some?
Right.
If those things, which are basic, hierarchy of needs behaviors, if those are out of whack, you spend a disproportionate amount of your limited prefrontal cortex mitochondrial energy managing that stuff. So you can train the labrador in your head. And one of the first things you do is feed the damn thing enough so it'll shut up. And then you can have a little bit more time to do the things that actually matter, which isn't eating bagels.
Yeah, exactly. And what I love what you're talking about is, we've been interviewing some habit transformation experts or behavioral change scientists for the summit, and one of the things that they were talking about is that willpower has a limit, that it only lasts a certain amount of time. So if you can satisfy these three basic things, then you're going to have a lot higher reserve for focusing on other more important things in your business, or earning more money, or whatever it is for you as an individual. So out of curiosity, what are some of the things that you do? Because I think distractibility is probably one of the biggest issues that high performers deal with. What do you do to maintain a high level of focus and to decrease distractibility?
Well, I've done the Daniel Amen radioactive brain scan, where you actually inject a radioactive sugar. And this is going back more than 12 years. Yeah. We have photos of the human part of my brain, the prefrontal cortex, zero metabolic activity when I try and pay attention. Wow. And I was formally diagnosed with ADD while I was getting my MBA at Wharton, working for a startup that sold for $600 million. So here I am, I'm like a successful entrepreneur going to a pretty good school, and my brain is like in chaos. Yeah. So I decided I really wanted to manage that. And one of the things that I did is I trained my brain to be less distractible, the same way you would train any other sort of animal. And there's a bunch of technologies for that. And these are pure biohacking. And biohacking is the idea of changing the environment around you and inside of you so that you have control of your own biology. One of the big tool sets for biohacking that's different than just nutrition or something is real-time feedback, because that Labrador in your head is so fast that you don't see what it does. And if you don't believe me, everyone has at one time touched like a hot surface. Yeah. And you pull your hand away and go, wow, that was hot. You didn't go, oh, that's hot. I smell bacon. Oh, no, that's my hand. I better move it. It doesn't happen like that. Right. So there is a super high-speed system in your body that's mostly invisible. Yeah. And what you're trying to do with these feedback techniques, the ones that increase attention and reduce distractibility, is train that system to be less distractible. The first thing I do is I look at the spacing between the heartbeats. It's called heart rate variability. And I'm a certified coach with heart math. And I actually carry the devices on my website. So $99, clips to your ear. The average client takes 6 weeks, 10 minutes a day to learn what it feels like when they go into distractibility mode, and then to learn how to bring themselves back in. This is a sympathetic nervous system overactivation. It's remarkably effective. You can do it with just meditation. It's just that you'll meditate wrong without a signal. And because the signal is real time, your nervous system listens in real time. It doesn't like to get results at the end of the day, like, oh, look, I was stressed an hour ago. I better do something about that. It wants to know, like, right now. Just like the dog is always scanning for like the next piece of dropped food, or the next cat to chase, right? So
you're saying that, like, if your heart increases or decreases, it'll let you know, essentially, and then you can start changing maybe your thoughts that are causing that behavior to take place.
It's more complex than that. The changes in heart rate have biological meaning, but not for distractibility. It's a change in the spacing between your heartbeats. So animals that are calm, and ones with a higher parasympathetic nervous system, this is your calm and focused state, and animals who are not ready to run away or kill you, they have a definable pattern in the way their hearts beat. So a healthy, calm animal goes da-dum, 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 da-dum. So the spacing changes. A stressed animal, human or otherwise, will go da-dum, 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 da-dum. Constant spacing. Right. So a healthy heart doesn't beat exactly every 1 second. It might be twice in this second and only once in the next second. And you can feel the difference once you're trained with this little device. It turns red when you do it wrong and green when you do it right. It's kind of an elegant signaling system. 99 bucks, 10 minutes a day. I've had people, coaching clients, just say like, my life is transformed because now I noticed that I was going into stress mode at certain times. I also use something called Stress Detective, which is a bulletproof app. It works with the chest strap, and you wear the chest strap all day, just for a week or two, and it'll draw a graph of when you were stressed and how much all day long.
Wow.
So wait, when I come home, and a lot of people have this, I worked really hard at work, and then I come home and I get a little stressed in traffic, and then like I walk in the door and right away it's like, clean up this and, play with me and all that, but they don't get a transition time. So their stress level goes through the roof when they're supposed to be like relaxing with family. So knowing that this is happening in your biology, okay, maybe I'll just like stop and like go for a walk for 5 minutes and then go home, and then my stress level is different. So having awareness of stress changes your distractibility, because the more stressed you are, the more distractible you are.
Wow. Yeah, completely get that. It's almost a selfish question because I kind of needed to hear that myself. But
this is one of those things, like if you're an entrepreneur and you haven't done heart rate variability training, like you're missing out. Like there's low hanging fruit, and for biohacking, this is one of them.
Wow.
The next thing though for distractibility that's remarkable and actually hard to get even, although I carry it on the website. Just they're handmade devices. It's a device that shines a light into the front of your brain and looks at how much blood is there.
Do you have to drill a hole in your head, or? Yeah,
just a little one. I've got one right now. Let's see. Do I have it on my desk? No, it's in the other room. Okay. But it does that, and it lets you play a video game on your computer. And the video game is fly forward like a bird or slide backwards, and your body likes to slide forward. When you're sliding forward, you've moved blood to the front of your brain. And when you have more blood there, you have more metabolic activity there, which lets you pay attention. Right. And this stuff actually can raise your score on the TOVA scale, which is what we use to test ability to pay attention. So I found just powerful changes from doing it 5 minutes a day for a couple of weeks. And all of a sudden, what used to be a struggle to pay attention is no longer a struggle.
Wow.
I am inherently lazy. I don't want to struggle to do stuff. I want it to just work, and I don't want to have to think about it. Yeah. So for me to allow my attention to just work between fixing the nutrition, getting the metabolic activity working right, and then training my brain to stop flopping around in fight or flight mode, and then to have more metabolic activity in the human parts, the ones I want to be working, that's been amazing. And I follow that up with 40 years of Zen, which is that brain training I talked about earlier that I do with some of my very high-end coaching clients.
And you haven't meditated for 40 years. You've literally hacked that process to be able to get to where a Zen master is using this neurofeedback, right?
It's a form of neurofeedback.
Yeah. But
it's doing some unusual things. It's a custom-built amplifier. But the real trick is measuring the brainwaves of advanced Zen state people, and advanced Zen monks can identify other people with that brain state. So when you measure enough of them, you're like, oh wait, there's a pattern of what the brain waves do. Like they start here at this frequency, they're synchronized this way, they move forward, and then you can take someone, and I've done this with a good number of clients now, and you can sit them down. It's a very intense process. Everyone I've done, including me, everyone I've done this with, either like throws up or cries. Like, it's like running a marathon of meditation in 7 days. Like, it's really intense.
Oh, wow.
The reason is that it's a lie detector pointed at your head.
Right.
And then you tell yourself something that you actually believe, but it's not true. And your body will tell you. The signal coming off your brain tells you. You're like, oh man, I believed this thing about the world, about myself, and it was wrong, and my brain is showing me it's wrong. And the only way to get the score up, the only way to become more like an advanced Zen master, is to actually see things the way they are versus the way you wanted them to be. And that's some scary stuff. But that's the sort of thing that I've done. You're not going to get there without your metabolic activity working very well. It's much harder work. So like, you build the foundation, take care of the stress response, and then teach the brain to actually be more aware of itself. That's kind of the biohacking stack that I use with clients.
Sure. And why don't we start with the base? Like, what are some of the foundational steps that we should take in order to get a good foundation for optimal becoming as bulletproof as we possibly can?
Well, I'm going to plug the Bulletproof Diet again. Just download the infographic for free. Like I'm bulletproofdietbook.com. If you pre-order it, I'll love you forever and send you a bunch of free stuff. But
That's great. That's
what you want to do is get this thing that tells you what to eat.
You're giving away like a ton of unbelievable stuff. It's pretty cool.
Oh, thank you. And I'm not like upselling and all that. I'm literally just like, here's extra info for people when I do this, because my goal is to have a lot of people feeling really good. So like everything works better that way. Yeah. The infographic tells you timing of food. It basically says, how do I turn off these distractions? So that's first and foremost. Then once you've done that, there are some other things, and I write about those in the book too, but the book is primarily like, how do you actually get this food thing to work? But one of them is sleep. Yeah. So you're hearing a lot more, and I think Ariana Huffington has really helped on that front. If she came out about this, Sheryl Sandberg kind of came out on the opposite side. I've been hacking my sleep for a very long time, and I've written extensively about this. But there are things you can do that are just about free, like 99 cents free. Right. And that is buy black electrical tape at the local hardware store. Yeah. I think I have some right here. Let's see. Well, this roll is blue. But what you do is you get a pair of scissors so it looks all fancy. Yep. And you cut off a little piece of electrical tape, and everywhere in your bedroom that you see an LED, you just stick it right over the LED. Right. And you're going to darken your room when you do that. And then for bonus points, what you really want to do if you live in a big city is you want to put blackout curtains in your room. You should actually have a black bedroom. Shocking. Right. Yeah. Your sleep quality will dramatically go up. I actually travel with some of the stuff wrapped around a pencil. And when I'm in a hotel, especially the ones that have like a green LED on a fire alarm thing that blinks every 5 seconds all night long, you will not sleep in a room like that. Yeah. Even with a mask on your eyes, your skin has photosensors, and there are studies showing that your skin responds to light on it. Wow. Make it dark. And it's, go ahead, sorry. Yep. Lower the temperature of your room is another thing. 68 degrees or less. I actually, at home, have a mattress pad with the temperatures control in it. So I can get my mattress pad down to about 60 degrees. And you might think, but that's cold, except you had a blanket on top. What it's doing is it's pulling heat out of my body, which helps you increase fat burning at night, but it also makes you sleep deeper. It's amazing. These are natural things. I use software called Flux. It's f.lux. I've used it for like more than a decade. And Flux is free, not even 99 cents, and it turns the brightness of your monitor down. So when it's sunset outside, your monitor becomes more orange and less blue. And at night, it becomes even more orange. The reason you want orange, not blue, is that blue tells your body it's the middle of the day. That's the color of the sky. So when you are seeing the color of the sky, that meat operating system, the part you're not aware of, says, oh, I guess I won't make melatonin for about 4 hours. Melatonin is an anti-cancer, anti-aging sleep hormone that only comes out when you sleep in darkness. So staring at your iPhone, staring at a bright computer with bright lights on and bright lights in the bathroom when you got up to pee, all of those are destroying the quality of your sleep, and you'll be slightly less able the next morning. So install amber colored night lights. And yeah, I carry those on the website too. You can buy things like, a $20 LED remote control color tunable stuff as well. It's not an expensive hack at all. Yeah. But every one of my bathrooms has a red LED wired into the switch panel. Red has certain benefits for controlling your cortisol and for collagen synthesis. It makes your skin less wrinkled. So when I take a shower in the morning, there's a bright red light in the shower that actually helps my skin to be healthier and helps to tell my body it's either morning or nighttime. So, okay, that's a bit extreme for most people, but hey, I'm a biohacker and it's cool. So.
And it's funny because David and I are in a mastermind together, and I posted in our group Facebook, and it was funny. I was like, really cool biohack that I figured out, that I stumbled upon, f.lux. David's like, oh, I've been using that for the last 60 years. It's like, I'm like, that's great. No, that's fantastic. Unbelievable foundational high performance strategy for sure. And a lot of these are they're counterintuitive. You probably heard, oh, you need to, minimize light pollution and sound pollution while you're sleeping. But to get the understanding that your skin has photosensors on them, I think is something that most people don't know. So that's really priceless. All of this stuff is priceless. So what are some other kind of foundational things that, people need to either download onto their phone or just hack from their diet or whatever it may be?
Well, you probably aren't aware of your sleep quality because you were asleep when it happened.
Right.
So getting some understanding of what happens at night is really, really important. If you're running a company, like, would you look at these numbers? And of course you would. Your financial metrics, your productivity metrics.
Yeah.
But you're spending a third of your time asleep if you're an average person, and you don't have any data about that.
Right.
So I think it's $1, maybe it's $2. There's an app called Sleep Cycle that runs on the iPhone. Do not sleep with the phone turned on. It needs to be in airplane mode, not in transmit mode. It's not wise to sleep with a microwave transmitter by your head. But what Sleep Cycle does is it allows you to monitor your sleep using the microphone. And when you do that, it'll figure out when you're near the top of a sleep cycle. And I just tell mine, like, okay, this morning I want to wake up between 7 and 7:20 a.m. I don't know when in that window I'll wake up, but it's going to figure out, is he like coming out of a dream? Is he almost awake? Or is he like in super deep sleep? And it's going to wake me with a slowly louder sound. So I wake up with a gentle wake up instead of that jolt from your alarm clock. And like, bleh, and that'll ruin your whole day.
Oh, completely, yeah.
So basically waking up gently at the top of a sleep cycle, and then, oh, look, I got my data. Like, that's a graph of 556 days of I don't know which graph I'm like, that's my sleep quality using their algorithm. And I can scroll through and I can see which of the biohacks I'm doing affected, what things. So I'm collecting data. There's, going on almost 2 years of data from every night, whether I'm on the road or at home.
Wow.
And how hard was it to do this? I had to set an alarm clock anyway. I just set this alarm clock, and now I have all the data. I also have a sensor wired into my mattress. It's actually a piece of tape you stick on there, a big long one. It's called Bedit. And that tells me when I'm sleeping at home without me doing anything or touching anything. It arrives in my inbox. And it's, let's see, the temperature of the room, the light levels, the sound levels, how I slept.
Wow. But
because it has this big sensor there that's in the bed, it actually tells me the spacing of my heart rate, my average heartbeat, whether I was stressed, whether I was doing stress recovery at night. And if you just do something, including this almost free application called Sleep Cycle, what you're going to get is in the morning, wow, I woke up tired, but I slept well. That's interesting. Yeah. Versus I didn't sleep well at all and I woke up feeling fine. That's a different thing going on.
Right.
I found as I was hacking the techniques for the bulletproof diet that I went on an extreme low carb, long period of time. We're talking like 1 serving of vegetables a day. The rest is like, fat and meat, to try and like replicate what Eskimos had done for their diet. What I found, because I was monitoring my sleep, was that I was waking up an average of 9 times per night without knowing it. I didn't have any recollection of this, but I woke up feeling awful all the time. And I was like, this sucks. And I had gone so low on the carbs that it did harm my sleep. That said, I'm a fan of being in fat burning mode, being in ketosis, but I had gone too far without refueling with some carbohydrate.
That's a great notice. That's something that I've actually learned myself, is that when I get too deep into ketosis, what happens is my body will start like twitching a lot during my sleep, and it's something that obviously my wife doesn't enjoy if I like punch her in the face halfway through the night.
Yeah, it's not very romantic for most couples.
Exactly. But that's definitely something that you need to monitor. So just on that, we had Dr. David Jockers talk about ketosis and how to get into ketosis. How do you know if you've gone a little bit too far? Obviously getting the Sleep Cycle app will be huge, and perhaps the Bedit tape will help you tell you what quality of sleep you have. But what are some things that will kind of give you an understanding of, hey, you've gone a little bit too far with this low carb?
Well, you can easily turn on beta oxidation, which is a part of ketosis, using this thing called Brain octane oil. Yeah, I manufacture this stuff, so take everything with a grain of salt. But if you look at the core science behind what happens with this very short chain, medium chain triglyceride,
Excuse me.
That's okay. It goes in 3 steps to form ketones, which then form ATP. So it's a very fast path to using fat for fuel versus 26 steps to use sugar for fuel. So it's a very efficient fuel source. And you can monitor using either urine test strips or using a blood stick or even using, let's see if my little test meter is floating around here. There's a new breath meter.
Very cool.
You basically, it's called Ketonics. I'm holding it upside down. Yeah, I'm holding it upside down. And it's, I don't know, a couple $100, but it plugs into a USB port and you breathe in it and it gives you a color. Are you a little bit in ketosis or a lot in ketosis? Nice. But it's not really like how far into ketosis you are, which is measured by basically the amount of ketones or other things that come from your breath. It's, at least in my understanding of this stuff and having interviewed guys like Dominic D'Agostino and a bunch of people who are in ketosis all the time, and they're rocking their world, they never come out of it.
Yeah.
And then there are others like me where sleep quality suffered. In fact, I got some food sensitivities because during that 3-month period, I ate so little carb and my body wasn't efficiently converting protein into carbohydrate. So I couldn't make mucus, which is made out of carbs. So my eyes got super dry. There were no tears. My sinuses got really dry, but my stomach lining, which is covered in a thin layer of mucus, there wasn't enough of that to protect my stomach lining. So the problem wasn't that I was too deep in ketosis. The problem was I didn't cycle out. So on the bulletproof diet, once a week for men and for some women, and sometimes twice a week even, I recommend consuming a low toxin carbohydrate, things like white rice or sweet potatoes, and doing it enough to come out of ketosis. So the idea is don't get stuck in sugar burning mode, don't get stuck in fat burning mode. Be biologically flexible, go in and out, kind of ride on the edge between the two. And when you're out of ketosis, that doesn't mean, oh, I left ketosis, I was going to have, you know, cherry turnovers, pizza, beer, and, you know, a milkshake from McDonald's. And there are guys out there who are more ripped than I am who will totally be like, oh yeah, dude, like, but sorry, I come from anti-aging. I want to look good. I want to think really well. And I want to live a long time and just be able to be present in my body and present in the world and do what I'm here to do. So it's a different goal than, you know, I just wanted abs. To be honest, I'll trade my abs for 20 extra years of healthy living with less inflammation. If I can have both, that's even better. So goals are slightly different there. Yeah. But the idea of going into ketosis, coming out, going in, coming out is important. And when you come out, you still maintain good quality food. You feel great, but you don't just eat crap.
The reality is, and correct me if I'm wrong, that, you know, around 99+% of the population is in sugar burning state. They're not in ketosis. One of the benefits of being in ketosis is you have unbelievable increase in brain factors that help with focus and energy throughout your body. Brain derived neurotropic factor after maybe a week or 2 weeks skyrockets. So all these benefits, but you know, the kind of science behind it and how you get into it is eating more of a higher fat diet, you know, definitely doing low carb, but not the starchy carbs, more high fiber carbs. Pretty much if they followed your bulletproof, you know, pyramid, they'd probably be in pretty good shape, correct?
That's certainly my goal. Increasing BDNF is something you can do with coffee, you can do with exercise, and things like intermittent fasting are profoundly effective for that. Intermittent fasting is when you don't eat for like 18 hours a day. And most people are like, I would starve, I would die. And when I weighed 300 pounds, I would have been like that too. In fact, I'd end meetings early because I'm like, I'm sorry, it's 11:45, I'm not gonna make it to lunch. Like, I'm gonna have to kill one of you and just eat your drumsticks. So I'm out. And it was a biological, quote, need because I was really not feeding myself well. To go from that to being able to go even 24 hours without food. And here's the thing, I could burn my willpower on that, but I'm not.
Right.
My body's like, hey, you're kind of hungry. I'm like, yep. But it knows it's not starving, and I know I'm not starving. So, like, sometimes I'll fly, you know, to Asia. It's an 18-hour flight, and the stewardess comes by, do you want, like, some chips? I'm like, are you kidding me? If I eat one chip, I'm going to have food cravings this entire flight. I'm going to just keep asking for more chips, and then my brain's going to start flopping all over the place. Like, screw that noise. I'm gonna have the bulletproof coffee I made in the airport, and yeah, I fly with butter,
Yes.
and I'll drink that, and I'm just not gonna eat.
That is awesome. That's great. Yeah, just going out with some of my geeky doctor friends that are like all about ketosis. It's hilarious seeing them at a restaurant before anything comes out. They're like, throwing butter down their throat before the foods come out.
I was at a 5-star restaurant, like Michelin rated. You have to wait a long time to get there.
Yeah.
And I apologize. I really want to throw out the name of the restaurant. It was inside an amazing hotel. It was at the Joe Polish Genius Network 25K event, and I'm just forgetting the name of the restaurant. Sorry. Anyway,
it'll come.
This is amazing. They had pork belly from properly raised pigs, all this stuff, and I still had a big block of grass-fed butter on the table. And the head chef came out and said, "What are you doing?" And I talked to him about it. He's like, "That's kind of cool." And he had French training. He's like, "Butter, yeah, we like that." And so there's nothing wrong with just doubling the calories of your dinner, especially if you exercise a lot, or you're big, or if you just have a lot of energy that you're trying to use. Most restaurant meals today, like, you'll spend $30 to $50, and they'll give you 4 ounces of protein if you're lucky. Yeah. They'll give you 3 asparagus spears. I'm sorry, like. You should be eating like 9 to 10 or 12 servings of vegetables on the bulletproof diet, like a layer of vegetables with a moderate amount of super high quality protein and lots of fat.
Yeah.
So you can't get good fat in most restaurants. You can get okay protein in some. Wild caught fish is okay.
Yep. But
then vanishingly, vegetables are hard to get. So I'm like, I just put butter on there, and then I'm satisfied, because if I eat, I'm not going to be snacking.
Huge.
That's not going to work.
So highly recommend, you highly recommend, these high performing individuals travel with butter. Is that what you're saying?
Butter on a regular basis. Hang on one second here. Hey, I'm in the middle of filming something.
No worries.
So we're building a biohacking facility right now, where I live. So I've got a bunch of contractors here, and I forgot to turn on my in-studio recording light. Apologies.
No worries. No, that's a really great strategy. Obviously, coconut oil, MCT oil, obviously the brain octane, another great thing to travel with, correct? Like,
well, there's a bit of a scam from the coconut oil marketing people, and I'll just call it a scam. I actually interviewed a PhD in animal sciences about this just recently. She's coming up on Bulletproof Radio. And coconut oil is allegedly 62% MCTs.
Yeah.
The problem is that the most common MCT in coconut oil, which is a valuable fat, it's called lauric acid, it's not really an MCT. It burns the same as a long chain fat, which is entirely different. So only 15% of coconut oil is a real MCT. And of those, the shortest one, which is about 5% of coconut oil, maybe 6%, that's the one that most quickly causes ketosis. So translating that, 18 tablespoons of coconut oil gives you the same C8 MCT as 1 tablespoon. So when I'm traveling, I bring 3 ounces, a TSA bottle of brain octane oil, which is the equivalent of 18 3-ounce bottles of coconut oil. So from a density and from the idea, I don't want everything to taste like coconut. Putting coconut oil on a steak, like a really nice steak, I'm sorry. Like, I'm a cook, I'm a chef, I've written books about like gourmet cooking. You don't do that. This oil doesn't have any flavor. So it just brings out the flavor of what you put it on. Even rice, something without much flavor, suddenly has more because it activates fat taste receptors. So less flavor, more portability are things I'm looking for, not to mention more ketones as a result of taking it.
Wow. Yeah. And just to get a little scientific on the measurement, most people are like 0.0001 or something along those lines. And to get into the ketogenic state, you want to see measurements around 1 to 4. Is that correct?
Anything above 0.6 on a blood stick is going to be officially in ketosis. And here's the thing. I can eat like 2 cups of sushi rice at dinner. So normally it's going to take 3 or 4 days to go into ketosis after that.
Yeah.
When I've done this, it's kind of cool. The next morning, I'll drink bulletproof coffee made with extra brain octane and no protein, no sugar whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And I'll get my blood levels of ketones 40 minutes later, and they're 0.7. So I'm officially back in ketosis. And what's really happening there is the liver isn't officially using long chain fats to form ketones. It's bypassing that and using the brain octane to make ketones. But that means I have the metabolic fuel from beta oxidation, which is what you want.
Right.
So it's getting pretty technical there. But the idea that you can have ketones present and you can breathe in a keto strip and you can feel the mental benefits of having ketones and you can do it very, very quickly, even if you had carbs the night before.
Wow.
For me, that's awesome.
That's amazing.
It's cheating.
Yeah, exactly. And really, I've been probably in ketosis. I don't know how long, but I've been doing some intermittent fasting over the last 3 or 4 years, and just experimenting with this keto lifestyle. And it's unbelievable, you know. And like you said, you don't need to be like this 24/7. I mean, you could have some carb loading days, ideally healthy carb loading days, not a bunch of beers and fries. But I think, yeah, that's something that's just so powerful. Now, we've talked about sleep, we've talked about nutrition. All these are just foundational to really skyrocketing your health and well-being. Really, you kind of touched on also how to eat out at restaurants. You can't, when you travel, are there any other kind of little tricks of the trade to eating out at restaurants? Or
yeah. I bring salt, real salt, like Celtic sea salt or Himalayan salt. And the reason for that is that most restaurants use low quality salt because it's cheap and it has flowing agents and aluminum and all. Your performance is based in some part on having enough sodium. The current recommended daily allowance for sodium is set so low that it actually inhibits human performance, lowers sex drive, and it makes you weak. It reduces your resilience as a human being. And I've written about this, I've done videos on this. Too much salt can be a problem, but the too much salt number for the average person is like 6 grams. Right. And we're right at the very low edge of not good for you, but actually bad for you. So I have, for a long time, said for people, and you can test whether this works for you or how much, a pinch of salt, anywhere from a pinch all the way up to a teaspoon of sea salt in water when you first wake up in the morning. Yeah. It completely transforms things. Now, this is something that we used to use for people in adrenal fatigue. Yeah. And you can still do that. But if you're not in adrenal fatigue, you worked out hard the night before, you stayed out late partying, whatever it is, anything that lowered your resilience, well, okay, I have more stress on the body. Let me help my adrenal glands modify my sodium to potassium ratio in the morning. And when you do that, you feel quite good.
Oh, that's fantastic. So definitely carry around your own salt to restaurants when you're traveling. And then any other little things that you carry around other than the duct tape and the
electrical tape? People like, really? Like, they just eat the damn salt there. Yeah. I travel a lot. Yeah. And I have very intense schedules. Like, every minute of every day is planned. It's on my calendar. It's like playing Tetris with Outlook. And so I may not have time for lunch. And one of the things that matters for me greatly is having some butter and having brain octane oil. And I bring my own beans because I don't like the crash and the jitter. And I have a very profound response to most coffee because I've been sensitized to toxic mold. I've lived in an environment, actually several houses that had stachybotrys and things on the walls. Yeah. So, by the way, just a quick thing. I'm filming a professional documentary about mold in our food and mold in our houses that's coming out next March. So I'm really talking to the world's foremost experts on that. And there's a reason that I carry my own coffee around with me, and it has to do with making my brain work and not having a stress response all day. But here's what's cool. Awesome. I wake up in a hotel room, I use whatever coffee apparatus is there, and I brew my own coffee. Then I put it in my bulletproof shaker coffee mug. It seals very well, with butter and brain octane, even if it's just a tablespoon of each. You can go a long time on just a tablespoon of each. Shake it up. Not as good as blended, but it's good enough. And I drink that. No hunger, don't care about food, can skip lunch. And then I'm productive. I didn't spend 45 minutes down at the buffet getting tempted by croissants. I don't actually care about croissants. I haven't eaten gluten in years, but I used to be tempted by them. But I don't waste time. And now, at least when I was on an expense account, now that I run Bulletproof, I am the expense account. But I don't waste $40 on the breakfast buffet, where all I was going to do was like, could I have like some eggs, Yeah. So, and I save a lot of time, so I could sleep more, or I could do some email or talk to my kids in the morning, whatever I decide to do. And then if lunch doesn't happen, or I'm in a taxi, or there's a flight delay, I'm not going to like crash because I'm really hungry. Whereas most people on business travel, like, oh, I'm so tired. I better have some more coffee because I got another hour till lunch. I'm a little bit jet lagged. I just don't deal with that when I travel. I'm like, I'm going to bring it. I'm going to meet with every person I wanted to meet with. I'm going to do all the stuff I was supposed to do. And then I'm going to go home and see my family. And I'm just not going to waste time.
Yeah, honestly, it's such a smart way to live as a high performer because, you know, when you eat a big meal in the morning, all the blood's rushing away from your brain, you know, which is the most important thing for productivity, into your gut. And it's like people wonder why they're not as productive throughout the day or why they have this 5 o'clock crash. I've been eating 2 meals a day roughly for the last 6 months or so. And, you know, I'll have like, you know, the coffee in the morning. I'll have a shake, perhaps if I'm working out, maybe an hour and a half after I work out, if I'm really wanting to build some muscle, maybe within that 45 minute time frame. But I felt amazing as far as energy is concerned, consuming just my meal at 1 o'clock and then at 5 or 6 o'clock. It's incredible, and I'm not starving myself. You know, it's not like my body is keeling over every day. I feel better than I've ever felt in my life, and so completely like, you know, great recommends. And
it's really important. So this is a lot of the stuff that I'm writing about in the Bulletproof Diet book.
Yeah,
it's really important that you're not trying to restrict your calories unduly. The amount of calories you put into your body change how much energy you have. So it's not like where these machines, you're like, oh, I'll just run an extra 3,500 calories and I'll eat 3,500 less calories and I'll lose a pound. It simply doesn't work like that because the body keeps changing based on what you put in your mouth.
Yeah.
It's true that if you're in a calorie chamber, that they can count, you know, did you poop how many calories? And there is an equation like that. It's just not useful for controlling your biology. It's just not useful at all, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
You can tell yourself there's a famine, and you can tell yourself there's a tiger chasing you by running all day every day, and you'll get thin.
Yeah.
But famine people don't do well when the food comes right back like that, because you tend to do what I did. You lose 20 pounds, gain 25.
Yeah.
Lose 25, gain 35, and you yo-yo. So you want to maintain your hormone health so you lose weight naturally and sustainably. In order to do that with intermittent fasting, like you said, you're eating 2 meals a day, but you want to eat the normal amount of calories that you would have eaten in 3 or 5 or however many meals you used to think were healthy. So that means if you're eating 1 meal a day, which I'll do sometimes, that's not a small meal. It's 3 meals in one. So I ate the ribeye, the whole thing, and like it is possible to fit that many vegetables on your plate because you don't want to be trying to be at an optimal state of high performance, having your brain work all the time, you know, being able to just have unlimited energy when physically you didn't eat enough food to have unlimited energy. Wow. So then your body's like, okay, do I break down a muscle or do I break down fat? If you want to be breaking down fat, you can put your body in the breakdown fat mode and you'll feel good. Yeah. And that's okay. But you don't necessarily want to be doing that on very low calories because unless you're doing like a longer term fast or something, you're not going to feel that good. And it's not going to be very sustainable for working and, you know, maintaining a social life and things like that.
It's brilliant, brilliant. Now, what are some of the best, you know, high performance resources that are out there? You've mentioned the Sleep Cycle app. You've mentioned some other really cool technologies. People probably, because you're so into the tech world, I would love to know what some of the best technologies or apps to download would be for performance. But, you know, what would you say are the best resources available? Obviously, your website is one of them.
Well, I'm going to plug another app, and this is a core part of the new Bulletproof Diet book. And the app is called Food Detective. Yep. And it's really cool because everyone, at least on the new Bulletproof Diet roadmap, the one that's also free, just like the app is free. I'm not like selling the Food Detective app. I'm giving it away. Yeah. And what we do is we categorize foods into bulletproof, which means the vast majority of people experience less inflammation, better performance. Like these are the good stuff. Yeah. There's suspect foods where they have problems for most people or some large swaths of the population really don't do well on these things. And then we have kryptonite foods where you just don't want to do it. So your job is to identify your own personal kryptonite foods. And you can identify your kryptonite foods using a change in your heart rate. So this app will monitor your heart rate before and after a meal. And if you eat something that you're sensitive to, it'll change your heart rate predictably and then will tell you there was something in that meal. And in the app, you actually just say what you ate. So like, oh, I went to my favorite restaurant, I had the salad, and then my heart rate went crazy. Well, probably the salad dressing had crap in it that was kryptonite for you. In fact, it was probably kryptonite for everyone.
Right.
But this really makes a difference because now you have a signal from your body to tell you whether you're doing something that you think is good for you that's actually making you weak. So you want to really systematically eliminate sources of things that suck your energy but don't do anything for you. So if you're allergic to eggs, which are an amazing superfood, if you're not allergic to them, you kind of sort of want to know that,
right,
and not eat them every time. The sneaky parts about our biology are that we will, if we eat a food that we're allergic to on a regular basis, we won't know we're allergic to it, and it actually feels good. It's addictive. The reason is that cortisol feels great when you get a little bit of it. And so if you eat something you're allergic to, your body squirts a little cortisol, and you get this energy, like, yeah, that was good. And then the cortisol drops, and you want more of it. So you really want to know what this is, because when you realize something that you do every day is making you weak, it's kind of like, what if Lois Lane had like an engagement ring with kryptonite in it? Superman's like, God, I'm not feeling the mojo anymore. I don't know why. What's going on? Right? All of us have this in our life, and you need to be ruthless about figuring out those things that make you weak, and either changing yourself so they don't make you weak anymore, or getting them out of there.
David, this has got to be one of the best tips, simply because I know how powerful this is. I remember eating cashews, and I was always addicted to cashews, but I'd feel so tired afterwards, and it was like this drive. It was almost like I was possessed to eat cashews, and I'd look around like, you know, for the cashews, and my wife would ask me like, did you go through that entire bag of cashews? You know, and it would be, it was when we did the food sensitivities panel, I found out this is actually, you know, at the core of why, you know, I've been craving these things. And what's so interesting is that small amount of cortisol release, which I didn't realize was actually happening when I was eating that's what drove me, and what drives a lot of people to eating the foods that are almost their kryptonite, that will actually cause them to create weight loss resistance, hormone dysregulation, chronic fatigue, the list goes on. So, I mean, that's a priceless piece of information. So Food Detective, just go on the App Store, both Android and iPhone, correct?
It's available on iPhone right now. The Android one is very, very soon coming out. Like it's in development right now. It'll come out before December 2nd when the book comes out. Yeah. And if you go to bulletproofdietbook.com and pre-order the book, there's a QR code in there to get the apps. You can also just get them directly. But
fantastic. Now, any last like gold nuggets that you want to sprinkle onto this like high performance conversation? Anything that you feel is essential for high performers to know?
Well, probably the final thing is live and die by your calendar.
Yeah.
And we're coming up on the end of the show, but that's actually a serious piece of advice. If you don't schedule personal time to do things that are important to you, you won't do them. So work with someone to manage your calendar, because managing your own calendar is a huge waste of time.
Yeah.
Set your priorities, but don't manage it yourself. And schedule time for playing with kids, schedule time for movie night and things like that. And in my case, I schedule time for another podcast.
That's awesome. And so, you know, David, thank you so much. Again, you know, the bulletproofdietbook.com is the website to go to. Bulletproof Exec, I'm sure everyone listening has either been to the website or has heard about the website. So if you haven't, you got to check that out. And the coffee is absolutely outstanding. I love everything that you're doing. Thank you so much for being as committed as you are. And any last resources that you haven't mentioned that you would recommend, like websites that you have, or anything else that you're doing?
I'd say Tim Ferriss is better known than I am by far. But if you haven't read 4 Hour Body, really, it's an impressive book. I mean, our nutritional philosophies are slightly different, but that doesn't matter. Try both, see what works for you. Like you are your own guinea pig. Yeah. But he's got a lot of really cool exercise tips in there, and I found that to be a really great book for people interested in hacking their own biology. So I'd say that's worth a read.
Wow. Well, if you love this interview, which I did, hopefully you did as well, we are transcribing the entire interview, and for every interview, we're actually creating summaries of the transcriptions as well as a master resource document. So all of the resource documents that, or all the resources that David's recommended, that all of our high performance experts have recommended, we're putting that in a document when you purchase the Summit package. So again, check that out. Thank you, David, so much for investing the time with us today. We really, really appreciate it. We know how busy you are, so really appreciate it.
You got it, Isaac. Have an awesome day.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.